August 1st, 2023, journal entry number 11. And here's some stories about seagulls. When my brother and I were much younger, like single digits younger, our mom would take us to Venetian shores for lunch all the time. Venetian is this little beach on the Great South Bay on Long Island, New York. Now, and I don't know exactly why, but she'd always make us raviolis for lunch to eat at the beach. So the three of us would sit at a picnic table on the sand with our little plastic containers full of ravioli and casually eat lunch there on great weather days. My brother and I would sometimes waste the ravioli by throwing them to the seagulls to eat, or sometimes, if you gently held one in your hand, one bird would scoop down and swoop down and pluck it right out of your hand. So naturally, Mike and I would laugh and laugh and laugh, and our mom would get so mad that we were wasting the raviolis and giving them to the birds. We also used to do the same thing with French fries, but the raviolis are the food we threw the most to feed the birds. Quick little story there. And another. Many years ago, I was at Nick's house for his birthday party / sleepover thing. Of course, shenanigans ensued, and the night started off with a paper airplane contest. The contest involved us all throwing our own creations at this particular spot in his house where the molding around the bathroom door was millimeters away from the ceiling. So the contest was to see whose plane could stay in that spot once it was thrown. It was a 2-hour contest. Legit, 2 hours of our life was dedicated during this party to get a plane in between the bathroom's molding and the ceiling. I want to say Nick's friend Jason won the contest that night, but honestly I can't remember. At one point in the night we found ourselves playing a game of truth or dare. Like, it was just stupid things. One kid had to lick some other kid's foot, and it was just disgusting. I myself had to lick the floor. I remember that. It tasted like dirt. Go figure, right? It was like 3 in the morning, and we were all doing some story time in the basement where the sleepover was happening, as they always did. So we're going around the sleepover circle, telling stories, and the subject of the beach came up for some reason. And then we got to the subject of weird food we've eaten. And so Jason says, "Yeah, I've tasted seagull before." And I was like, "What do you mean you've tasted seagull?" Jason laughs. "God, I hate this story." "Okay, I'll have to share it." I chuckled, go for it. Jason shook his head with a smirk. "Alright, so when I was a kid, like 7 or 8 years old, I was at the beach with my family, and I threw a rock at a seagull, and I killed the seagull. Now, years before this, my dad came up with a rule that if you kill something, then you have to eat it. We all laughed, and I was like, okay, so what did the seagull taste like?" So Jason's looking around at all of us, shaking his head, and looks back at me and says, "One singular item, rubber band." We're all peeing our pants with laughter at the singular item, and I'm like, rubber band? Not rubber bands, plural? He's like, "No, it tasted like a rubber band." So I'm laughing my butt off and ask, "Alright, I'm dying to know, how many rubber bands did you eat as a kid?" Jason joked around and said, "Let's not talk about it." So the rest of the birthday night and that morning, after we're all still laughing about Jason eating a rubber band seagull, and for years after that, he was always saved in my phone as Jason-Rubberband. Still have yet to taste a seagull to see if Jason's description is true or not. And another. I was at Venetian with my family one Wednesday of one summer, many years ago, grilling burgers and hot dogs at this large, open, trellis pavilion thing on the sand. We had some family friends meeting us there. We all played frisbee and cornhole, and it was just a really fun evening. As we're all sitting down to eat what was grilled, other families around us were using other grills as well. So at one point, this man has about 24 hot dogs grilling away, turns around with his metal spatula for a second, and this effing big butt seagull swoops down, grabs 2 hot dogs off the flaming grill, right in his beak, tosses them up in the air, and eats them both in one full gulp. Now the man turns back around and notices that the 2 dogs are missing off of his grill, and looks up to see the seagull eating his food, and just looks around at all of us other beach patrons as we laughed and laughed and laughed at the seagull stealing that guy's dinner. It was just too perfect. The look of disbelief on the man's face was priceless. What an effing bad butt bird. Excuse me. What's another good seagull story? I know I have a few in my memory banks. Okay, so one time, my aunt was driving my cousin to his lacrosse practice. They were on Sunrise Highway, going east, and this flock of seagulls began flying through the cars for some odd reason. One seagull smacked into her windshield and rolled off the hood of the car. The bird was bleeding from his head and twitching, so my aunt scooped the bird up in a hoodie she had in the trunk of the car and brought him to the nearest animal hospital or clinic. And I still don't know why to this day, but she kept telling the vets there that she hit a pelican and that the pelican was in the car and the pelican was bleeding. The vets and techs were confused as to how she hit a pelican with the car on Long Island because they're extremely rare here. So they get to the car and see that the pelican is actually a seagull. Ma'am, this is a seagull, one told my aunt. But my aunt was momentarily confused. You're right. I'm sorry, I hit a seagull. They took the bird into the clinic. My cousin was late to his lacrosse practice, and a few days later, my aunt called the animal hospital and asked how the pelican was that she had dropped off the day before. They informed her again that it was a seagull that she hit and not a pelican. And again, my aunt was momentarily confused, but the bird was fine nonetheless. I still wonder why my aunt confuses pelicans and seagulls, but every time she told the story when we were younger, when we were all growing up, I would just die of laughter because of the confusion between birds. Both water-dwelling, true, but vastly different creatures nonetheless. Seagulls, man. When you grow up on an island, of course you're bound to have seagull stories. And here's another. It was a couple weeks after I got my first car. Long time ago. I had my license for a bit. I was excited to be driving myself. Little did I know that I would later despise driving, to kill myself at dead-end jobs after dead-end jobs. But when you're 17, 18 years old with your license and your first car you worked hard to get, then you're so full of life and hope. My how adulthood pounds you across the face. So, I'm driving around town. It's a nice summer day. My windows are down. Fall Out Boy is playing on the radio, and I spot a flock of seagulls in my rearview mirror. Flying over the intersection I was stopped at, waiting for the light to turn green. And BAM! I get pelted in the face with seagull poop. I poop you not. An effing bird crapped through my open window, and it hits me across the face. Actually, I'm freaking out. I wind up using my sleeve to wipe my face off. Immediately drive home as I'm gagging and shower for a solid 30 minutes. Needless to say, the shirt I was wearing was quickly thrown out. It was tainted at that point. No more wearing such a disgrace of a shirt because a bird pooped on my face. Ugh, it still makes me gag just reliving the moment. Oh, and here's one more seagull story. Okay. So, seagulls are a pain in the butt. And they're very stubborn. And they're actually very smart, too. At least from my experience. I'm in a parking lot for a local grocery store. I put my bags in the trunk, and I see all these seagulls around my car and on the light poles and whatever, squawking away. I seatbelt myself in, put some music on, and begin to crawl forward out of my spot to get to the exit of the lot. The seagulls dispersed, but as I got closer to the exit, this one effing fat butt alpha seagull just refused to get up and out of my way so I can drive. I don't know if there's an actual term for the HWIC, head witch in charge, head bird in charge, but I'll use wolf terms and just say alpha seagull. This mother effer would not get up. I beeped at him, nothing. I yelled at my window, nothing. So I put the car in park, got out, approached the seagull, and that bastard still refused to move. And we yelled at each other. I yelled while flailing my arms, move! The bird still sitting squawked. I yelled again, move! The bird gets up and squawks. One more time, I yelled, move! And he finally flew away, and I got to drive. But I could not effing believe that dumb butt bird. I could have totally just run him over with my car, and he wouldn't move. Or did he know I wouldn't run him over, and he was testing me? Seagulls, man. It's just scary. Scary times. Haikus. 251. Okay, I'll just stop. You obviously don't care. Why am I trying? 252. You're a piece of poop. Friendship is a two-way street. F your selfish butt. 253. Supernatural. It's hard to fight for what's right. Monsters are monstrous. 254. Two wings and helmet. Time for a real space ranger. Toys will always rule. 255. Why is your hair cut? Your swoopy hair was awesome. May it rest in peace. 256. Who's the lightning thief? Can it be Poseidon's son? Or maybe Hermes? 257. The Sea of Monsters. Where is this great golden fleece? A Cyclops has it. 258. What's the Titan's curse? Just Atlas holding the sky? Long live the angels. 259. Smart the Atlas. Battle of the Labyrinth. Just save his laptop. 260. 260. Last Olympian. Empire State Building fight. Why did good die young? 261. A hero is lost. New heroes and a new camp. Greeks and Romans search. 262. The son of Neptune. He's been found and he's confused. How dare you, Nico? 263. Mark of Athena. The seven half-bloods travel. Fighting Arachne. 264. The House of Hades. Hard fighting through Tartarus. Cupid forced Nico. 265. Blood of Olympus. The seven must fight the fight. Greeks with Romans. Great. 266. Asgard, Vanaheim, Midgard, Alfheim, Jotunheim. And then there's four more. 267. The Sword of Summer, Fight Boston and Valhalla. The Gods of Asgard. There you go. 268. Hidden Oracle, The Trials of Apollo, Greek, Long Island Camp. 269. The heroes team up, demigods and magicians, Greek and Egyptian. 270. Yes, smoking can kill. You can die from many things. Vending machines kill. 271. Messy ultrasounds. That gel just gets everywhere. Warmers are welcomed. 272. This campus is big. The hallways are labyrinths. One wrong turn and death. 273. I need some pizza. No, like, I really need it. Pizza is true love. 274. Sweets or saltiness? Sweets or saltiness? What kind of dessert is best? Depends on the day. 275. Holy effing balls. These effing old people suck. They can't drive for poop.